We can get rid of all the crime in America overnight, just like that. And people ask how, Attorney Crump, change the definition of crime.
Of
course.
If you get to define what conduct is going to be made criminal, you can predict who the criminal is going to be.
I mean, it sounds like we're criminal, though.
Yeah.
Our existence
No,
is
the culture.
criminal.
But they
That's-
made the laws
They
that way.
make the law to criminalize our culture,
To fit us.
black culture. I mean, and so when I think of Eric Garner, I always think of stuff like that. Lucy Cigarette.
Getting rid of crime by redefining it. And crime is an attack on our culture, aka black culture. Yep, you heard it for yourself. Negroes publicly admitting that they identify the so-called culture by criminal activity. Now, I don't want to lead with that. I want to lead with A$AP Rocky and Jay-Z's situation because they represent notable figures that really encapsulate this concept that crime and black culture is one and the same. Because as we know, ever since rap has went the gangster route in the late 1980s, Negroes in general have decided to identify and relate to thugs and crime. And A$AP Rocky and Jay-Z both have made careers off of presenting this persona that they're criminals engaged in criminal activity while simultaneously being a corporate sponsor celebrity rapper. And when they have cases or even accusations like these two have, A$AP Rocky, who recently had a trial that he was, vindicated in for an on video caught assault charge with a gun. And Jay-Z, who had a lawsuit against him, dismissed recently. Two instances of rappers who built their personas off of being criminals and, believe it or not, to get involved in illegal acts, or at least have the perception that you are involved in illegal acts, actually helps your reputation. Where, in a sane society, that would be a negative thing. And it usually is in all other genres of not just entertainment but industry in general. But when it comes to rap and rappers, being an actual criminal and thug, that's seen as a good thing. And if you're a corporate sponsor thug, then that can help you sell records, make you more famous than you were before. And these two situations are just another example of Negro privilege. Despite the diatribe that you hear from the pro-blacks of the world, there's a slew of Negroes that get rewarded in court, despite their criminal behavior. And it's not just famous rappers getting away with alleged crimes. No, it's poor, no-name criminal Negroes who are always getting away with crime or getting a light punishment. Because you have these lip-hearted activist judges who don't believe these little Negro criminals or POC criminals in general should be punished. And there's an endless number of cases where someone gets let out due to an activist judge, and that person ends up killing someone. I mean, not too long ago, Joe Rogan had some dude who did a lot of time in prison and he got in on the whole activist hustle, like Ben Crump. And then, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then a few days later, he was found with a decapitated body in his possession. And again, he was someone who shouldn't have been out on the streets. But again, it just goes to show you, like, this isn't just an example of celebrity, rich privilege. No, this is two examples of celebrities and just a nigger being a nigger getting their privilege in courts because, the higher ups, the ultimate demons clearly want dangerous criminals to be out on these streets. Now, when it comes to ASAP Rocky and Jay Z, are they out on the streets harming people? I mean, who knows? They probably are a part of some freak parties where they sexually assault. I mean, ASAP Rocky actually was caught on video on the streets, but generally, like immediate threats to a community. No, but they are ministers for criminality through their gangster raps. And clearly, they appear to be useful assets, which is why, they got their little victories recently. And again, ASAP Rocky was caught on video with his situation. And that's why I'm not really sold on this idea that Sean Diddy Combs will actually be punished. I mean, I can see, unlike, Jay Z and ASAP Rocky, he's going to be put through the ringer far more than they were, but I can see this ultimately being something that Diddy gets off for. Because he was an ally all the way up until he caught the case. And we know just because there's a Cassie video of her getting beaten, I mean, that doesn't mean much because, there's photo evidence of Chris Brown and the damage that he did with Rihanna, who's, ASAP Rocky's wife. But, look at Chris Brown. Not only has his career continued, but his main defenders were women who, apparently now pay hundreds and thousands of dollars just to smile and take pictures with him. So again, it's just another example of anything these people say, particularly these woke, lip-hearted people say, they don't stand for at all. Whether it's Chris Brown beating the hell out of Rihanna with photo evidence, they supposed to be against abuse of women, but women were the main ones, his fans in particular, co-signing him, and he's continued to be co-signed by corporations. ASAP Rocky, he's supposed to represent uh, people who are against gun violence, and he had a gun in his possession with his assault case. But again, he just got more street cred and will continue to be sponsored by corporations. And Jay Z allegedly was a part of a 13-year-old girl getting raped. Protect young women, right? Danny Masterson, we're against rapists. But here he is getting his case dismissed. And even before it was dismissed, he was still getting support by the NFL, by Disney, you know, being allowed to attend the Lion King premiere. And he was at the Grammys award show, not being booed or jeered at all. And again, when you couple this with the Ben Crumps of the world, who is an extension of that protected class of Negro privilege, because again, you have the thug rapper persona of Negroes, but then you have the intellectual activist persona that Ben Crump represents, even though he can barely talk. And those two aspects of Negroes in America are heavily protected, and a few are heavily rewarded. Because ultimately, liberals demand chaos. That's their ideology. And they know the main agents of chaos in the streets are criminal Negroes. And so when Ben Crump is publicly stating that we just need to redefine crime, that's him being probably unintentionally honest about where a lot of so-called black people stand. Because again, I've stated before in previous videos, you'll have Negroes that have never committed a crime a day in their lives, but they will defend criminal Negroes and be pissed off if some Republican or conservative demands law and order and punishment for crime and mass incarceration with the option of the death penalty for criminals. You'll have people who've never committed a crime in a day in their lives, and no one in their immediate family even, but they will still come out and defend against tough on crime policies, which again just shows you what Ben Crump said, probably unintentional, but it was honest and true. Black people align so-called culture with crime. ASAP Rocky and then Jay-Z are sort of notable examples of that, who preach pro-crime, and the Ben Crumps of the world are the sort of institutional intellectuals, that push to ensure politically pro-crime policies are continued to be pushed. And so that's where the black privilege comes from. They know Negroes will be agents of chaos for their agenda in the streets.